Hello, all of my subscribers, paid and unpaid. This is Donald Earl Collins. Welcome once again to Fool's Gold, Confessions from an Educated Fool, where I basically talk about two themes for two potential book projects in one, right? Thanks for being patient with me. I know I haven't posted that much the last few weeks. Um, Freelance writing and writing for Al Jazeera about all things related to the 2024 presidential election and related and yeah really a lot just the election really have kept me very busy and kept me from really working on the things I want to work on. I plan on getting back to more of what I do after this election cycle is over. But as you can see from what I have up on the screen when sharing my screen, I've been writing a lot the last few months about the election, about viable third party alternatives, about Obama and his berating of black men for being misogynoirous and misogynistic, even though at least 80% of all black men plan on voting for Kamala Harris, yeah, or already have over the last few weeks, right? I've written about how Harris hasn't exactly been user friendly regarding marginalized Americans, whether we're talking about black women, or we're talking about black men, or we're talking about all people of color or poor people because she only concentrates on the middle class and so on, right? And this is really my theme and talking about all this today. It's not to share that, oh, I've been busy writing and all that other stuff. It sounds a little pretentious, right? That's what I do, by the way, and it's mostly what I do these days since I'm not teaching right now. So, but anyway, is the fact that aren't you all tired? Aren't you sick and tired of going through the same thing every 4 years, every 4 year cycle? Someone berating a particular group, someone saying that this group's not doing enough to get X president elected, or this Democrat elected, or this person in the office, and so on and so forth, for being blamed for things that are not your fault, so on and so forth. I'm tired. I hope you're all tired too. I'm freaking tired of this. I've been voting in mock elections since sixth grade in 1980 when I voted for Jimmy Carter and made the argument for why Jimmy Carter should be reelected president. No one listened to me then. No one listens to me now for the most part unless they're reading my stuff anyway. So there's that, right? I've been voting since 1988. I've voted in every election since '88. So I think that's like that's 7 or 8 elections ago, right? At least, probably more than that. My math is a little off. My point is, I've just been voting for the same lousy ass choices that all of us have had, and it's fairly obvious that while the Democratic Party is not the Republican Party, I'm not making that argument. Do not put words on my mouth. Kamala Harris is not the same as Donald Trump. That's a ridiculous statement to make. But if you're going to go ahead and try to vote for Kamala Harris, or actually vote for Kamala Harris like I have, you also have to be realistic about these realities. Never mind the fact that she's a black woman, South Asian woman, a biracial black woman, who would be the first as president, woman of color as president, black woman as president, South Asian as president of the United States, all wrapped up in one person. Is this basic reality that her plans for what she's planning on doing when she becomes president are mostly vague, right? And what she has talked about puts her pretty much in the center right between securing the border, strongest, most lethal military the world's ever seen kind of stuff. I support Israel no matter how many people they kill, no matter how many institutions they destroy, no matter how ruinous and deadly and genocidal their policies and execution of such policies are. Those are the realities, and because of those are realities, we should stop blaming people for not voting or voting third party, right? Why are we blaming Arab Muslims? Why are we blaming Arabs in general? Why are we blaming Arab Christians and Palestinian Christians even more specifically, since that's a good portion of the population who lives in the United States, for saying I'm going to sit this one out? I can't support either candidate. One candidate is batshit crazy. The other one is genocidal and has normalized this as if this is a normal thing. This is perfectly fine. The imperialistic, colonialistic, capitalistic, and genocidal ultimately toward entire groups of black and brown people. If I'm in the category of being from the Middle East, particularly if I'm Palestinian, I am not voting in this election, and I wouldn't vote in this election, and I don't blame you. Why, right? I'm not saying vote for Jill Stein either. Don't do that. Jill Stein's a grifter. She only cares about herself. It's all self-aggrandizing. Look at me, vote for me. I'm anti-vax. I take money from anybody. Republicans, Russians, whomever will help me get myself out there, even though I have no fucking chance of actually winning anything, right? Don't listen, don't do that. That's ridiculous. But at the same time, that gets us to a larger point, the point that I'm really trying to make in terms of being tired, right? We have the same two choices when it comes down to the substance of what they're saying and what they plan to do for both elections. We have the same two choices between far-right candidates that would basically take us and lurch us further toward an autocracy in every way, shape, or form possible. Another candidate promises to quote-unquote save the democracy. And therefore, if we don't vote for her, or in this case, her, but in the past Biden and in the past Obama, that we're not doing, or in the past Hillary Clinton, we're not doing enough to vote for these people. Here's the reality. There are two reasons. If Kamala Harris loses this election, there will only be two reasons why. White people is one. Majority voters are still white. Nearly 2/3 of all voters in this country are white. 80 to 85% of non-college educated white voters in the previous two elections voted for Trump. That's probably going to be pretty close to the case this time around too. Why are we blaming everybody else other than white people? After all, this is their country. They love saying this is a white man's country. This is a country that's built for white people and all this other stuff, right? So put the blame where it goes. It shouldn't go to a handful of black and brown people who might have voted third party or might have voted for Trump or might have not voted at all. There are 80 to 100 million people in any election in this country who do not vote. And guess who the majority of those non-voters are? They're white. Eligible non-voters are. They're white people. Blame them. Second thing is, there's their campaign. To be sure, she's only had 3.5 months to make her case. But then again, she's been out campaigning for Biden, making her case indirectly for almost a year, right? So she is so tied to Biden that she has refused to break with him on anything, whether it's a ceasefire, an embargo on arms until there's a ceasefire in Palestine, whether it's dealing with issues involving, the gap between everyone saying the economy is great and lots of people feeling like it isn't because of inflation, because of actually there are a lot more people unemployed than the unemployment statistics show. That people, just because people have jobs doesn't mean they have good jobs. They don't have living wage jobs, because the minimum wage is still set at $7.25 an hour kind of shit and all that other stuff, and you don't deal with any of that. You're too busy telling us how great everything is and how you're not going to change and telling people to shut up and wait your turn, I'm speaking, and all this other stuff, like you're talking to children. And I don't blame her for being a black woman. I voted for her. I actually, when it comes right down to it, I genuinely like her as a person, but I'm not voting for her as a person. I'm voting for someone who's supposed to be president. And in voting for someone who's supposed to be president, I voted for her very reluctantly because of the stances that she's taken. And I recognize the fact that those stances might help her certainly lose younger folks, Gen Zers and young millennials, certainly lose folks who are progressive and are saying, nope, I can't vote for a genocider. And I can't blame you for not voting at all if you don't vote for a genocider. Don't. I came pretty close to not voting at all myself. So there's that, right? But aren't you tired of all of this? Aren't we all kind of tired of all of this? That's kind of the main thing I'm trying to get at here. We're trying to make excuses for somebody because we like the way she looks. We like the fact that she looks kind of like someone we might have known growing up. Someone, particularly if we're black and brown. That kind of stuff. I get it. But this is why I wrote an article months ago before we got into this heavy part of the cycle, right? Turn left at the next intersection. Why the U.S. needs a viable third party. And when I say viable third party, I mean a viable third left of center and leftist kind of party, the kind of party that really pushes for progressive ideas, where you don't have to compromise all of your beliefs because the person you're voting for actually is, against genocide. Go figure. They don't want to kill lots of people all around the world, especially if they're black and brown, right? They don't want to do that, those kinds of things, right? So this is what I'm going to do to put my money where my mouth is, because everyone says, oh, you're just an armchair activist. You just write and you write stupid stuff. That's what white people tell me anyway. A lot of them send me emails telling me how stupid I am. Well, maybe I am stupid. I am an educated fool after all. That's kind of the theme of the Substack. So this is what I'm going to do. After this election cycle's over, I'm changing my affiliation to independent. Why? Because unless one of these parties, Democrats or Republicans, it's probably not going to be the Republicans, they are so far to the right that they should be watching around with SWAT stickers, and some of them already are, right? So pretty much put them, until the Democratic Party puts up a candidate that actually represents most, if not all, of my values, and won't compromise them for AIPAC, or won't compromise them for the Koch brothers, and won't compromise them for big pharma, big oil, big fossil fuels, etc., etc., I'm probably not going to vote for another presidential candidate after this. That's what I'm going to do. That's my take. And the thing is, if we're really serious about building something, you have to realize that voting is the lowest form of civic participation there is. As sacred as it may be, as many people as might have died to vote, and as many black folk and brown folk and other folk who died for the right to vote over the past century and a half, right? As many people as that. It's a low level of participation, organizing, putting proper candidates together, building a platform. Those are big, big things that need to be done, and that takes time. And you can't wait every 4 years to do it. That's why Jill Stein's a fraud. That's why Cornel West, even with all his great ideas, is generally unrealistic, approaching grifter status too, because of the way he's doing. So many of these people are charlatans. They know they can't win presidential election, and they won't take the time to build a real platform where you slate candidates for everything from dog catcher to the school board member to city council member to county executive and county council member, so that you can then build off of them, so that those candidates can potentially eventually run for things like mayor of a major city, run for state assemblyman, state or woman, state assembly person, state congressperson, state delegate, etc., state senator, right? And eventually for governorships and U.S. senator, U.S. congressperson, President of the United States even. That takes time. In order to build a proper platform, it takes probably 4 to 8 years to do. All the years in between presidential cycles, that should be what's going on, and that's not what's been going on with these parties writ large, not even the Green Party. Maybe the Democratic Socialists, but they've thrown their lot in, a lot of them, with the Democratic Party anyway, so you don't really have to build a platform. You just go, hey, let's go with the less conservative of the two parties, right? So there's that. But you have to take the time to do that. And until that is done, I don't think I'm voting for another president after this. If we have the same kinds of choices that we have now, Kamala Harris has my vote for 2024, even though it's really detestable the way she's handled her campaign around issues around social justice and human rights, including the right to actually exist and live. People, not nations, people, and their right to exist, okay? So, thank you. I will get back to my normal postings by Substack in the coming days and weeks, getting back to going after things in the workplace and imagine futures and things of that nature. In the meantime, for those of you who can afford it, like $5 a month, $50 a year, that would be great. Other than that, take care, good luck. Whatever you decide to do, unless it's voting for Jill Stein, I fully support it.